3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Good to be back. We had an unexpected day off on Friday as the Gamecocks played a doubleheader over in Auburn to get ahead of some really bad weather that affected a lot of baseball series across the SEC and the ACC. We'll touch on all of that for you. Gamecocks, of course, not good this past weekend. Gave up 46 runs in 3 games. But, hey, they have 4 more to play. Winthrop will be here tomorrow night. The LSU Tigers, now the new #1 team in the country, coming into town to close out the regular season. And then by Saturday night, we will know who South Carolina's opening opponent is in the Southeastern Conference tournament. That's the only path for the Gamecocks into the big dance, if you will. I don't know what the baseball tournament nickname is, like the basketball tournament's the big dance, but we'll use it. We'll think of something else if we need to.
We got to give it its own name.
Given how this team has performed, the odds are going to be against them winning 5 games in Hoover.
Yeah, well, especially when the bullpen issues have been what they are. And considering if you win the first 2 games, you might have to start going to bullpen games.
Well, you will, and you've been doing that anyway, right? And by the time you get, let's just say, for the sake of the discussion, that you were to be able to get to a 3rd game, you will then play someone who's yet to play, and they'll be going on just a weekend rotation kind of a thing. So, anyway, unlikely. Paul Maneri will not be joining us today. Monty Lee will take his place. Got a message yesterday that Coach Maneri, that is, would be traveling during the afternoon portion of things. And so Monty will be stepping in to answer some questions about what didn't happen. I mean, you had an opportunity in game 1 of the doubleheader Friday. A back-and-forth affair. Carolina was down early, I think by 5, came back, took a lead. Then they, each team tied it up a little bit, and Auburn won it in the bottom of the 9th. Then Carolina scored early in game 2 and then didn't score again. And that was it. But you gave up 24, 11, and 11 on the weekend. And I did some math. I can do other math, but the average SEC loss, and there are 22 of them, is opponent 11.18, Gamecocks 4.04. And your OPS is now about 250 points-ish lower in conference play than your opponent OPS. So it's just your walks and hit by pitches, you're well above on the free pass number, well above in conference ERA. In terms of the OPS, the slugging percentage, I think Carolina has been out-homered by 40 in 27 games. So it just there's very little to hang your hat on here, and you just have to figure out, what's next in the longer-term sense, Elijah. There's really just not a whole lot else to break down. We can do those things. You and I, this time last week, were sitting on the top deck over at Savage Craft enjoying Cinco de Mayo and a beautiful afternoon. Today, maybe more apropos in terms of how Gamecock baseball fans feel. Here we are back inside. It's raining, and it's just, not that
all weekend.
Not that a week ago was going to make you feel any better about yourself after your previous exploits, but nevertheless, you try to find some glimmer. But at this point, I don't think fans are trying to do that now, and I fear for the crowds this weekend. When I say that, it's because there won't be much of one.
Yeah, I mean, what's the appeal?
Right.
I don't blame people for not wanting to go.
No. And it's like with Florida last weekend, man. We talked about that, right? Like, again, I joked, but you used to fight people in the streets to get tickets to go see Carolina, Florida. Same thing with LSU. And that's just not where things are right now. But we'll get into that. Meanwhile, things are very good for Ashley Chastain's softball team. She and the Lady Gamecocks getting a number 8 national seed They will be hosting this weekend. That's great. Should they advance, they'll host again before an opportunity to go to the Women's College World Series. We'll touch on some of those details for you a little bit later on. Still got some basketball things to discuss as well. Braves, speaking of bad baseball, Braves, this is the third time now in the last week, including games with the Reds, the 4-game set, where Atlanta has had an opportunity after an 0-7 start to hit 500, which is, not much to celebrate, but it's something to celebrate.
When you dig yourself a 7-game hole.
And yet, in each of those 3 games where they've had an opportunity to get to 500, 1 game down, if you will, they've lost. And this weekend, you lost 2 one-run games and won a 1-run game against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who had just fired their manager. So the new manager bump works for the Buccos up in Pittsburgh this weekend. Atlanta comes home now, I believe, to take on Washington. Am I right about that? Is it a home game? Does that sound right to you, or are they going to Washington? Should I know this?
I can check real quick. I can be on that.
It's in Atlanta. They're in there. I got it. It's in Atlanta.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you. I didn't write that down earlier. I just put Nats tonight. I didn't write it down. I thought it was in Atlanta. So we'll touch on those things for you throughout the course of the afternoon. Some things later on that we'll discuss. Andy Staples, Ari Wasserman on their podcast today on the On3 YouTube channel discussing, and Ross Dellinger has touched on it as well, discussing the possibilities of a future college football playoff format. Now, not for 25, all right? The coming football season, again, the only thing that might change and probably will change is going to be the seeding. There will be 12 schools in this year's playoff. They're not going to go to 14 or more. But in terms of a potential 16 school field, we'll get into some of the whys. And I don't know, do you and I don't think we see, it's not that we disagree on a lot of this, but I don't think we necessarily see eye to eye on what 16 might look like.
Yeah, because I think it's going to be gift wrapped for 8 teams from 2 conferences to begin, regardless of how strong the conferences are.
You're right. It is. It is.
Which is kind of antithetical to what sports are.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And later I'll throw out, because I told Elijah we got to discussing this a little bit this morning, and I said I will save the rest of this because I do have I have an idea to not work around that, but I used this analogy last week for a couple of things. In case of fire, break glass kind of moment. I think I have one. I don't know that you'd ever have to break the glass, but we'll get into it later.
I'm curious to hear what this is.
What'd you do with your day off on Friday?
I still had to do some things around here, but it wasn't much. I think I maybe did an hour of that, went back home, and was like, you know what? I will crack open a cold one, watch some day baseball between South Carolina and Auburn, and I fell asleep halfway through the game. I got a little too cozy.
Nice.
And I had to catch up on what happened in the last 3 innings or so.
Yeah, I did some extra yard work, so that was good, and I went to the Kroger.
There you go.
Yeah, I had to get a few things, so I was like, hey, I got time now. But doing yard work was good. It was good because I was like, you know what? I need to get ahead of some of this because I knew it was going to start raining.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so behind. You know what? I went out of town one weekend. Was down in Hilton Head one weekend with no yard work, and I'm still catching up on yard work.
All it takes is one.
Because it's just everything's growing so fast, And I gotta try to stay ahead of it as best I can. Not only do I need to continue to call Ben Cato at Cato's Power Equipment, but I need Ben to come over.
You need extra manpower now. Now you don't. The needs aren't equipment needs.
Hey
anymore.
Ben,
it's manpower.
I want to say hey Ben, I need a couple of like trimmers and another mower. And he'd be like, "What's wrong with the other?" I was like, "Oh, nothing's wrong with it. I just need you to come over and
I need somebody else to help me man this." Yeah.
Show me how to work these things by working these things.
Is Ben one of the options for rentals? Can you rent Ben?
I'll ask him. You know what? Again, kids, the only dumb question is a question not asked. So there's that. Right? Just saying.
We learned that lesson earlier this year.
Made Mrs. Phillips. 2 of my daughters are home. 2 of the 4. made Mrs. Phillips a really nice, at least I thought it was, and apparently everyone gave it a thumbs up, Mother's Day brunch at the house.
Nice.
Yeah. Opened up my mom's old cookbook, one of them, and made a sausage and mushroom quiche.
Oh, that's delicious.
Dude.
Yeah.
It was so bleeping good. And you know what I did? I'm sure we've all been to Cracker Barrel.
Yes.
And you know Cracker Barrel has that hash brown, like cheesy hash brown casserole thing.
Which is phenomenal.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
So
it's like the best menu item.
I found a copycat recipe for it. Let me just say, yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh man, if it's anything like the hash brown casserole,
it was.
Barrel.
And I'm not dissing Cracker Barrel when I say. I'm just saying, thank you to whatever website I got that from. I can't remember now. It wasn't Food Network.
I might have to steal that one.
I'll find it for you.
Yeah.
I'll just go back in my history from Saturday. I'll send it to you. But it was on point, man. So thank you to that place. And then I didn't screw it up.
Hey, it's all following instructions.
Yeah. So really good.
Cooking is following instructions.
Really good. So nice weekend overall. Before we hit a break, Matt wants to weigh in on some of the things going on around Carolina baseball. Matt, how are you, sir? Happy Monday.
Hey, Jay Phillips. I'm good. I hope you're doing well, too, and had a good weekend.
Thank you.
I just wanted to give a few comments about baseball and ask you a question. Since you've been following this program for a long time, it kind of feels like we're finally to the point of a make or break in terms of all season and expectations next season. It feels like if we don't make the postseason next year, we're going to kind of fade into oblivion like Nebraska football. And so my question is, and I know this isn't a groundbreaking question. It's a very simple question with a loaded answer, but what exactly are you selling to recruits about this program right now? And no matter who the coach is next year, is it even realistic to expect there to be enough improvement where you go from 5-25 to actually making a postseason? Thanks, Jay.
Okay, Matt. Thank you, buddy. I tell you what, in the interest of time, I will answer both of those questions on the other side because it might take me more than the amount of time I have here, and I don't want to cut it off midstream. So two excellent questions. I especially like the nod to Nebraska of yore.
Because there's a parallel there.
There is.
There's a
you're not there yet, but yeah. So let's do that on the other side of the break. And if you want to weigh in, questions like Matt had, 803-404-6100, phone lines, Firehouse Subs text line. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. It's the Monday Postgame Show. All right, 18 minutes after 3 o'clock on this Monday. Welcome back in. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. A lot to get to on the program. Again, some college football discussion, some college basketball discussion that took place on Friday that we'll get to. I'm in favor of a large number of those things. We'll discuss in just a little bit. But Matt just called us with a couple of Carolina baseball questions, big picture stuff, and they're both very good questions. First off, he asked, if you're out on the trail right now as a Gamecock baseball coach, what are you selling recruits? And two, even if you can bring a bunch of talent in, can you expect a big turnaround? I'll take the second one first, Matt, because I think they can tie in, really. But one of the things that I know Paul Maneri was trying to sell last week before going to Auburn was look at Auburn's turnaround this year, where this, last season, Auburn won 8 conference games. And Butch Thompson's a good coach. But, last year they won 8 games. And their athletics director, kind of like what, at least was with South Carolina, is John Cohen at Auburn, who was a very good baseball coach before he moved into administration. So at least there's an eye toward, what makes a successful baseball program. And I know a lot of you are saying, why didn't Ray Tanner step in every so often and do something? I don't know where Ray decided to step in and not. But this year, Auburn has doubled their wins in conference play with a series left. So they're sitting on 16 wins right now. And Auburn is in line to be a national seed. Now, so is, honestly, Texas, Arkansas, LSU, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Georgia. So, Tennessee losing the series to Vanderbilt this weekend might have dented them just a little bit in terms of a top 8. By the way, would you have seen a fight break out between Tennessee and Vandy? I didn't see that.
A
coming.
fight, yeah. We'll put that in quotes.
It was what do we call that? A dust-up? A skirmish? Just a little bit, just clearing?
Everybody's a tough guy until we get into each other's faces. Yeah.
No fists. Just a lot of jawing.
It's like it's like Will Arnett's character in Semi-Pro. He's one of the guys on the radio broadcast team, and want to FCC proof this. He's like, yeah, these sissies aren't going to fight.
Right.
They're not going to fight.
But so I suppose, Matt, you can look at Auburn as an example of being able to turn something around. Now, I don't have statistics in front of me to tell me why Auburn last season was as bad as they were. I don't know. I want to be careful to say, I don't want to go. I'm going out on a limb here and say that their ERA was not nearly as bad as Carolina's, or their OPS numbers weren't nearly as disparate as what you're seeing from the Gamecocks right now and things like that. But it's going to take a big recruiting haul and then a lot of success. And look, I mean, even Missouri just went and swept A&M. It's hard every weekend, every game in this conference. That's not an excuse, because as I've said many times, this program must see itself as better. And so if I'm hearing that one of the recruiting pitches is, hey, come be a part of the rebuilding of Gamecock baseball, come be part of the turnaround of Carolina baseball. It's hard for a lot of fans around here, and that's the difference. It's hard for a lot of fans around here to know that's part of the recruiting pitch. So this ties in, Matt, to the other part of your questions. What are you selling? Because Gamecock fans, rightly, by and large, are saying, but this shouldn't be a turnaround. This shouldn't have to be a rebuild. A retool, a reload. That's where you see things. And, Matt, you also ask, what if they don't make the tournament again next year? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Because I feel like the last time this program missed the tournament in back-to-back years was like those maybe Wright and Ray's early years. I think. because COVID doesn't count, and they missed it in 19, but they made it back in 21, and then they missed it again in 23. So, if you miss it in back-to-back years here, that's just, it's not like, I can't say devastating because I wouldn't know what the next year would hold. But I guess Paul is he and Terry and Monty and John are out there selling hope for the future and be a part of it. And you do have a school and an athletics department and a fan base that is willing to support you. So that those are positive selling points. This school cares deeply about its baseball program. But again, it's hard to think about what might happen if you don't get it turned around. And there are a lot of people, and I don't know what the future holds, but after Thursday, and we didn't have a show Friday. I even had someone that I know well text me and say, do you think it's a good thing you don't have a show today? On Friday morning, once they found out that I didn't have a show on Friday, I was like, maybe? Because after a 24-2 loss,
nothing nice can really.
I was pretty. I don't want to say I was pretty fired up, but I don't know, man.
It's pretty disgusted with what I watched.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
24-2, and by the way, you've now been swept 6 times this season, including by Clemson. That's just. So, Matt, I don't know if I'm giving you the answers that you necessarily want to hear when you ask me questions like that. I don't know that South Carolina baseball would ever suffer the same kind of fate that Nebraska football has suffered for a couple of reasons. One, and I know this sounds like a weird thing to say first, but number one is quite literally our weather and location. I just think there was a time when Nebraska football recruited a lot of big, giant, Midwestern corn-fed boys and redshirted them for a year. And then basically they didn't play, up on the lines anyway. They didn't play for another couple of years. And then you went out and you got some skill guys from Texas and Florida and California. In addition to some kids that might have grown up around you when you had the occasional guy from an Omaha or maybe the Twin Cities or places like that, that would want to play for you. But otherwise, these days, I don't know that Nebraska is doing a great job of recruiting skill guys or, quite honestly, any guys from SoCal, from Dallas, from Houston, from Atlanta, from Tampa, from Miami. I'm sure they get a couple. Don't get me wrong. But these days, those guys are like, you know what? I'll just stay where it's nice. I don't want to go where it's 2 degrees in February.
Not an appealing location.
But no, it's just, you fell on hard times at Nebraska. I wouldn't think that could happen here, but it could. I mean, it could. Certainly, it's possible.
Well,
it's
the trajectory is eerily identical at this point in time. When you saw the post Frank Solich years at Nebraska,
right,
what they end up becoming, which was frequently missing out on any type of postseason football activity. And in football, all you have to do is have a 500 record and you get to a bowl game.
Yeah.
And they're missing that with regularity.
Yeah.
In college baseball, you only have to win X amount of your conference games and you're a shoe-in to get into the postseason every year. And now South Carolina's starting to get into that point where if you miss next year too, you can say that when you've missed the postseason more than you've been to Omaha, you are missing with regularity. I think the biggest question here is when it comes to recruiting, yes, we can tell you what the sell is going to be because Paul, like you mentioned, has clearly, portrayed what it's going to be, and that's being a part of, the rebuild of this program. The real question is, how does that resonate with players that are in the transfer portals, players that will help you immediately when you only have so much time to play college baseball? And let's say you are a player with 1 year of eligibility left and you have an OPS of 1,100 and you hit 11 home runs last year and you're somebody who's the type of player that this team needs to win next season. How appealing is that message to you if you're also fielding offers from schools like Georgia, LSU, if you're getting the best of the best? how appealing can that be? That's my thing right now, is because these are, at the end of the day, 18 to 23-year-olds. A lot of them that you're trying to get in the portal are older players to make you better right away. How appealing is it to get sold a vision of what used to be and turning it around when you don't know exactly what the team's going to look like when you get there?
I had somebody ask me last week if you to kind of stay with your example player, and you could put a pitcher in, with similar, relative statistics in the same boat here. But if Carolina offered you $1 million, where Carolina is today, and Georgia offered you $900,000 with where Georgia is today, and Georgia came up because they're your next closest, like geographically and things like that. Like, what do you take? And I'm like, well, it's a great question. And I think a lot of people would go, basically the same money. I'm already a good player, because if I'm in that ballpark, no pun intended, financially in college, then the chances are very, very good that I am going to be drafted and get some type of signing bonus that might not alter my life forever, but will at least, be appealing. So I'll make that up somewhere else. That could be a real stumbling block for Carolina recruiting. And I think a lot of kids would probably, I would think the majority, to your point, Elijah, might just go, I also want a real shot at Omaha now.
Yeah.
Because I don't get another one.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you've never been.
Yeah.
And you have offers from schools that are contending for it.
So it's, it's a tough spot. And how did it get here? That's the thing. How did it get to where a recruiting pitch needs to be? Come help us rebuild South Carolina baseball.
Sentences you never thought you'd say.
803-404-6100. More on this as the postgame show rolls on. Integrated Media is Columbia's best when it comes to home theater installation, home theater service, really home technology these days, because it's more than just what you watch and listen to. It's how you secure your home, how you light your home, how you keep your home comfortable. The guys at Integrated Media can do all of that for you, and you can control it all from one app on your phone or your tablet. So, listen, you know what home theater is all about and what home security is all about. You also know that you might like to enjoy our beautiful weather, all right, whether it's now in the spring or hanging out over the summer, maybe grilling some burgers and watching a ball game, and, of course, going into the fall. How about an outdoor system that looks and sounds just like the indoors? They can do that for you, too, and it's made to be outside all the time. Any of those things on your list when it comes to your home, call 803-948-8327 and let Integrated Media come to you and change your life, because they will. That's Integrated Media. Discussing a good question from a caller earlier in the program on Carolina baseball. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Matt called us in the opening segment and asked a couple of questions. What are you selling if you're the Gamecock coaching staff as you're out on the recruiting trail? And then from a fan perspective, he asked us, is it too much to expect a big turnaround in 26, or what is it, what does that look like? And we touched on the fact that Paul Maneri about a week ago in a press conference was discussing Auburn's turnaround, how Butch Thompson's team last year won just 8 conference games, and this year with 3 conference games left, they're sitting on 16 after their sweep of the Gamecocks. So they this weekend secured a winning record in conference play. They've doubled the number of wins from last year, and can that be an example of what the Gamecocks can do? Certainly it can. It can. And I still do believe that South Carolina can do enough to attract talent and get themselves back into the conference race. But when you look at what's happening right now and how hard that's going to be, it's not like, oh well, don't even try. I mean, you'll go bust your butt to go do it. But I also ask, and Elijah's been doing a little digging here during the break. I don't know, if you will, and I can only say it this way, I don't know how bad Auburn was last season in direct relation to the Gamecocks this season. But the Gamecocks this season, and I'm not saying it to pick on them, y'all. I'm just giving you what the statistics tell me, all right, what the fact says. The Gamecocks are really bad this year, and I don't know if Auburn needed as much of a kick in the seat, if you will, as this Gamecock program is going to. Have you found anything that supports one way of feeling over another?
Well, I did go back and look at the SEC stats from Auburn last year, and I picked just a few stats. Like ERA, batting average, home runs, pitcher walks, and hit by pitch, right?
Okay.
And there are some similarities, and there are some gaps. Last year's Auburn pitching staff in the SEC had an ERA of 7.62. This year's South Carolina's is right now at 9.27.
I say so. Not quite 2 runs worse, but
they're a little ahead. Batting average, both teams right at 264.
Okay.
Auburn hit 7 more home runs. Now there's still 3 more games to go.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you hit 7 home runs in the LSU series, you tie them. In terms of batters walked, now Auburn walked 214 batters last year. South Carolina and SEC play has walked 140. So you probably have that one in the bag.
Wow. That's brutal.
And yeah, they walked a lot of dudes. And then in terms of hit by pitch, Auburn hit 46 hitters last year. So far, South Carolina and SEC also has hit 46 batters.
They walked 240 guys.
214.
Oh, 214. Still.
It's a lot of walks.
Dang. But they won 8 games.
A cartoonish amount of walks.
Yeah. South Carolina can win 8 games if they sweep LSU.
You would have to sweep the number 1 team in the country.
Yes. And for those of you just tuning in, LSU is the new number 1 team in the country.
Consensus by pretty much every publication.
Yeah, they took 2 of 3 from Arkansas, who had just swept Texas. And by the way, Florida just went to Austin and took 2 of 3 from the Horns. Florida's playing really good ball.
They are. Texas also going the wrong way.
Yeah. And then Missouri, again, if y'all missed it, Missouri, who had not yet won a game, swept A&M. So
that's objectively, the funniest thing to happen in sports this weekend was a team like Texas A&M who funnels all of this money into all of their sports. They want to be good so bad in everything. They're fighting for their postseason lives. They have the worst team maybe in the history of the SEC in their building. And not only do they get swept, they got drop-kicked over the course of 3 games. 9-6, close-ish, 4-1, whatever, but 10-1. 10-1.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. At home against the worst team in the history of this conference, a team that was perfectly trajectory to go 0-30. This is comically the worst team in college baseball relative to their league that I've probably seen in my life. And they go to College Station and they go into that house pee on the rug, ruin the furniture, break all the televisions, and have completely left that place in shambles. That's hilarious. I don't even care who you root for. That's really funny for a team that's been that bad to go in there and basically end somebody's postseason hopes.
Yeah.
In that manner.
Yeah.
Objectively funny.
A&M needs to win their series this weekend and maybe have to do a little bit in Hoover. We shall see. So, again, to put some fine points on it for now, can you expect a big turnaround next year? I don't know. I don't want to. Here's the thing, y'all, and for those of you who listen to me routinely, you may get, I don't want to say tired of hearing me say this, but for those that don't hear me routinely, I'm going to tell you something that I will not let go. It may take a decade before I would let go, a decade of futility, I might add, before I would let go of this. As someone who has, to Matt's point, seen this baseball program from the 70s onward, the late 70s at least onward. South Carolina has done enough as a program and as an institution when it comes to its baseball program to have a fan expectation of hosting a regional every season. Now, it doesn't mean you got to be angry if they don't, because that's really hard to do, to be one of 16 schools, all right, every year that gets to host. But the point I make when I say that is that isn't an unreasonable level for this type of program. Now, there will be years when you're a 2 seed somewhere, like last year, and then you need to ask yourself what happened. Because as we talked about a bunch in the last few weeks, as May began last year, as April turned to May, the South Carolina baseball program and team was in a position to be a host.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a bad May.
We were having discussions of what this team needed to do to be able to host.
Faded
you were
late
in that ballpark.
Right. You faded late. And you tried to make a little bit of a run in Hoover, best run in Hoover for a few years, but by then it wasn't enough. And then it just you didn't do well enough up in Raleigh. So you're not gonna do it every year, but letting go of the expectation, resetting the bar to say, I just want to make the tournament or something like that can't happen here. And if it begins to slide to the point of where that's where it is, that's going to be incredibly unfortunate, even in a college baseball world that has more parity in it than probably ever before. Again, and I don't mean this in any way other than observationally, when Kentucky and Tennessee are making the College World Series and you're not, it's not that you can't have a good year somewhere, but now people look at those programs going, Remember the kid from Central Connecticut State that pitched here 2 seasons ago and then went to Kentucky instead of Carolina? I know Carolina tried to get him.
Yep.
Kid wanted to go to Kentucky instead. And then he was on a team that went to the World Series.
Took him to the College World Series, yeah. And that was the best season in the history of Kentucky baseball.
So, you look at things like that, and it's just one little reminder of how hard it is. It doesn't mean that you failed. So, I'm just having trouble, like, whether it's short-term or long-term, y'all. Like, again, this past weekend, I'm just looking down at my notes. I mean, 46 runs scored against you in a conference series. And I made mention, let me read you, I'm going to read you guys the tweet that somebody named Gene hit me after the 24-2 game on Thursday. Said, this score in the Auburn game is humiliating to our school and program. And I responded back, I'm genuinely having trouble understanding a score like this in any baseball game being played at an equally competitive level. It's beyond humiliating. It's closer to unforgivable. That's what I said Thursday. I'm not sure that I've tempered that too much right now because just 24 runs.
And then the next 2 games give up 10+ as well.
11 in each. 46 runs scored against you in a conference series. And this comes on the heels of you having given up 22 runs to the Florida Gators this past weekend in your building. 803-404-6100 is the postgame show. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock on this Monday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Talking Gamecock baseball after another very humbling weekend, this time over in Auburn, South Carolina, losing 24-2. Then 11-10. And in the finale, 11-3. The average conference loss in 22 of them is Gamecock opponent 11.18 to South Carolina's 4.04. And again, an OPS differential of roughly 250 points. That's not good.
It's steep.
The opponents went over 1,000 with what Auburn did this weekend. The opponent, in conference play, the opponent OPS went over 1,000 this weekend. Whew.
1,000 OPS makes you an all-star in the major leagues.
Yeah, man.
It makes you an MVP candidate.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get back on the phones and get to Michael up next. Hey, Michael, good afternoon.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, man.
Y'all asked the question earlier. I was listening. Can Paul Maneri do it in year two? And y'all, I don't answer, but if I'm Jeremiah Donati, if the answer is no, I simply just say you've got to get rid of him. If he can't do it, if you don't think you believe he can do it, then he needs to go. Because, we need to get back to what Carolina baseball is, Jay. You talked about it. This is not what Carolina baseball is. 24 runs in a game, the pitching has been horrendous. I've been to every game this year at home, and I've noticed the attendance has been atrocious this year, y'all, and we can't not keep having that happen either at Founders Park. We need to pack Founders Park. And just, y'all, this is just not a sustainable on-field product or just, when we talk about fans' perspective, just a financial,
Right.
Mode. Y'all, so I appreciate y'all, and just I'll listen off here.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, I think you hit on one of the things that Elijah and I discussed a bunch last week, especially because of last week's Florida series loss being in Columbia. And again, I'll say there was a time when you just those tickets were gold. And that was really one of your better conference rivalries in all of college baseball for a few years. And, one of the main reasons is because those two schools played each other for a national championship at one point. 2011. The number one thing when you think about it, and it encompasses everything, Michael, but you just touched on it. You got to fill that park up. That park it's almost crickets chirping. And for an athletics director who has come in with such a business-minded focus, you have to look at that as job one. Now, that obviously means knowing in your heart and mind, to your point, Michael, I'm backing the right horse here. And that can be for any sport. But that can't continue. And one of the things that I had somebody hit me and say, well, do they care? This was off air last week. I had somebody hit me and say, do they care, Jay, if the actual attendance is so much lower as long as fans are buying their season ticket? And I said, well, they're going to care when a lot of those fans stop or until those fans see something that they want to believe in. And next year, the number of season ticket sales is, say, and this might be drastic but for the sake of the discussion, what if it was cut in half? What if because, let's face it, Elijah, while you want a good seat over there, there's really no such thing in a ballpark that size as a bad seat,
Yeah.
So if you were to get out of line, if you will, getting back in line wouldn't really damage anything that you're doing when it comes to the fan experience, unless you just really want to be up close. And chances are, if you're somebody who gets seats right behind the dugout or some such, or right behind the plate, you're probably not letting go of them anyway.
Right.
If you have a box or a suite or whatever, you're probably not letting go of that anyway.
Cool places to watch games.
But at the same time, you might start saying to yourself, or you might be saying, hey, Jeremiah, I pay a lot of money for these. You doing something about what I'm watching or what I'm not watching? And then that puts pressure. So the financial aspect is huge. And it can instantly be coincided with a better baseball product. And I said to you, Elijah Campbell, last Monday, sitting again right across the river over there, I don't envy Jeremiah Donati's position in the coming weeks when it comes to his evaluation of this program, because he's got a lot of things on his plate. And I don't know that when he was applying for and then ultimately accepting the job here, that this was going to be part of the immediate equation for him.
Because he even probably had an idea in his head what the worst case scenario for this baseball team is, and I can almost guarantee you it's not what actually ended up happening.
Well, you can look at it.
That was the case for anybody.
Right. You're looking at the process going, all right, in baseball, national champion coach, 5 trips to Omaha. All right, well, they're in good hands. And now here's the result so far. More phone calls on the other side and some college football playoff news. Keep it here. 4 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Hour number 2 coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia, South Carolina. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. An unexpected Friday day off for Elijah and me.
Didn't know what to do with my hands.
I didn't either, man. And I told, well, the funny thing is, I texted Elijah and said, do we need to be on standby anyway? Because they had moved, these games to get ahead of some really bad weather across the Deep South over the weekend. And, of course, it's hitting us right now. I said, do we need to be on standby anyway? And I was trying to, picture Elijah's response, or visualize or even, verbalize, your response to me.
Of what standby looks like.
Yeah, but then I also heard, non-FCC compliant words that were probably wanting to come out of your mouth when I asked you that. So then I think I sent a follow-up text that said, I don't really want to. I was trying to be a professional, which, again, I do maybe 5 or 6 times a year.
I was like, nah, there's no way. These games always last at least 2.5 hours. And here's the thing, you got to play 2 of them.
Yeah, well, I just wondered, I was going to rain again. Or what if it rained? Because I looked but then as I told you, it started to get bad Friday night in Alabama. And I said, okay, they should be okay. And then they were okay. They got them in. But I was just trying to.
Now, if we had to come in at, say it started raining and they just canceled both games in the 6th or 7th inning, then good luck getting a hold of me because I was asleep. I was taking a nap.
Right. Yeah, if it had pushed past 4.
Got a new love seat in the house, got really comfortable.
Yeah.
AC was on.
And whoever's calling, the program director, some board op, whomever.
Phone's always on vibrate, so you're not waking me up.
I'd have been sorry. I was out in the backyard working, raking, cutting, pruning. But I got some things done. But now we're back, and we've been talking a lot of Carolina baseball. Again, after a really humbling weekend, 24-2, 11-10, 11-3. All losses, of course, sending Carolina to a record of 5-22 in conference play. And we, believe it or not, spent almost the entire first hour discussing the state of the program. And I want to be fair to y'all that are on hold, so we're going to get to you, and we'll move into some college football playoff discussion in just a bit. But let's get right back into it. Richard's been holding on through the break. He's up next. Hey, Richard, how are you?
Hey, Jay, how's it going, man?
Okay, man.
For 56 years, I'm about the same age as you, Jay. I'm from the same area. I grew up eating, sleeping, playing baseball, South Carolina baseball. And in 56 years, I've never known a loser in South Carolina baseball. And I think this is at Ray Tanner's feet from the first person he hired. Now, I'm not saying Chad Holbrook's a bad guy because he's a good fellow. But you shouldn't make his first big job the number 1 baseball team in America.
Well, I get your point. I don't ever blame Ray for hiring Chad. I know what you mean, and in retrospect, it's easy to go back and look at that. I think when he hired Chad, and with Chad's reputation, I like the hire. All right, I like that particular kind of handoff.
There's a lot of recruiting upside there, too. His ability to acquire talent.
And I'm not trying to rewrite history here, Richard, nor are you, when I say that I do believe one of the things that Chad missed was somebody on his staff that was like Chad. Ray had Jim Toman, and then Ray had Chad. And I don't know that Chad ever had that kind of assistant. And considering as well Chad's reputation as one of, if not the premier recruiter in college baseball, having to do the day-to-day management of the program stuff, which is what a head coach does, but not having, somebody else to go recruit or somebody that could handle some of that managerial stuff, and I don't mean on-field management, and let Chad go recruit. I don't know how much that played into it. I also don't know how much just being the big brother, the good cop, bad cop thing, Richard, where Chad maybe under Ray was the good cop and then having to become the bad cop, how much of that could translate to the kids on the team. You'd have to ask them and him. But look, he missed the playoffs twice, and he lost a home playoff series. And that wasn't good enough then. So maybe the bigger thing, and again, we got along great with Mark, but maybe it was then, after Chad, where Ray could have gone and found that guy. I don't know who that guy was. And that's not trying to knock Mark too much. So I get your point, Richard, that a lot of this does come down to the athletic director leadership of a once proud baseball coach. And that is fair for fans to say, come on, man. Like, where was the next you, Ray? And maybe that's easier said than done.
Yeah, I believe that, I just don't want to think we've run our course. That's it.
Right.
So I appreciate everything, guys.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for the phone call. Yeah, I get it, and that's just it. I think that's why even in a year like this, there isn't. I suppose there's some apathetic feeling in the sense of not going to games right now. But I mean, y'all, we're sitting here with a full bank of phone calls for the first hour and change of the show on a team that just gave up 46 runs in a weekend series in conference play. So the care is very apparent. And there again, that's a good sign for Jeremiah Donati. You can get these folks back real quick. But if this continues,
because they're always going to be there, are they going to be willing to spend the money to go to the games and watch a team get beat by 19 runs? They're not, no. I mean, speaking as somebody who is a sports fan, am I going to spend a lot of money to keep going to games if the finale of or the second game of a series against Florida is 22-3, or the separation between you and the rest of the league is this steep? No one wants to do that. Right. I mean, people want to spend their money the way they want to spend it, and you're just not getting, even as a consumer, you're not getting a return on your investment going to the games when they're not even competitive, right? And that's the big thing. Like the fandom's always going to be there, especially around here with college baseball. It will always be there. So it's not like you're just losing. You're losing fans completely, but at some point too, you're losing money if you can't get them to come out to the ballpark.
Yeah, and eventually, I mean, over time, if it continues to erode, what you're not doing is necessarily building that next wave of fans. I talk about it with men's basketball. There's been just enough success to always keep the appetite a little wet around here when it comes to men's basketball, but nothing like what those years were, again, before my time under Coach McGuire. But, these days, I mean, Elijah, you've been here a few years now, and you've been in the gym when there's been some good teams and some not good teams. But even when the team is good, like, let's face it, this past non-con season, coming off an NCAA tournament appearance, those games in November and December, other than Clemson, it's an okay crowd.
Okay.
It's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah. But it's not, if Eastern Kentucky was playing at Rupp in November,
it's still packed.
Sold out.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say Carolina should be Kentucky. What I am saying is there was a time when South Carolina baseball was every bit as prevalent as Kentucky men's basketball.
Yeah, where even I'm just going to pick on, Mercer here. You have a weekend series against Mercer in February, selling out the ballpark.
Yeah. Now, you might have left by the 6th because it's 40 degrees.
And because they might have a run rule finish,
right. But you've
seen all you can.
But you came out. Yeah, you came out. Richard, I'm with, and thousands and thousands and thousands of your fellow Gamecock fans are with you. They don't want to slip into any kind of oblivion either. But like I say, if you're now being passed, forget about being passed even temporarily or seen as lesser than Arkansas or Texas or whatever LSU does to them this weekend, schools like that, Florida, Vandy. You're supposed to be in their neighborhood. And now people are looking at you going, well, Alabama's better than you, and they don't even care half the time. Auburn's better than you, and they don't even care half the time. Kentucky's better than you. They just went to the World Series, and they used to not care at all. And Tennessee's better than you, and they've won a championship, and they used to not care at all. Like, what happened to you? Right. And, oh, by the way, Eric Bakich just came down after taking Michigan to a national championship series and has Clemson poised as a top 8 national seed in year 3. And his team swept you.
Seeing what happens around you is almost as impactful as seeing what you do on the field, too, and that the gap is just that large.
North Carolina is going to likely be a national seed. They beat you by 6.
Like, if you had the season Mississippi State's having, we're not having this conversation.
Right.
It doesn't get to this point.
Right.
It's the fact that you've lost all those games in the manner in which you've lost them, and at times you've just looked so distant compared to what the rest of this league is.
Again, I did them. Your average conference loss this season is by more than 7 runs per game. You're not just losing. You're getting beat.
You're flirting with getting run ruled.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting beat. And you have been run ruled now 5 times, I think. 5 or 6. You've been swept in 6 series. I think you've been run ruled 5 times. I think so. I'll double check that, but I think it's 5.
And in terms of losses by 17 runs or more, you have 3.
Yeah.
And that's been in a month stretch.
Yeah. I mean, in a 5-day stretch, you had a 22-run output against you and a 24-run output against you. And you're in the same conference. I was joking. Like, I wouldn't expect the Braves to score 22 runs against the Gamecocks. I kid a little bit there, but not a lot, man, because runs in baseball are scored one at a time. I had somebody say it's like losing 63-3 in football. I'm like, maybe if you were kicking field goals.
Yeah,
Think about that for a minute.
9 touchdowns to 0 touchdowns.
I mean, if you were kicking field goals, you get in. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be flippant. It's been hard to watch. Jerry up next on the phone lines this afternoon. Hey, Jerry.
Hey, Jay.
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going. How are you?
All right. Now, listen. It took 14 years to get to where we're at. Think about that. I don't know. Ray has to shoulder some of the responsibility. But all the statistics everybody's been coming up with, runs and all this, it boils down to either no talent or no ability to hire, find talent, or no ability to develop talent. It's down to that. All this other stuff just means if you can't hit and you can't steal and you can't run, you can't bunt, and you can't pitch, and you can't hit consistently with runners on base, I mean, what's all the statistics? The deal is you got to. I don't know about Molinari and his coaching staff. I do know that the hitting has not improved. Some of the worst batting stances I've ever seen in my 85 years of being a baseball fanatic. It just boils down to either no talent or no ability to develop talent. And I'm going to hang up and listen to you.
Yeah, well, Jerry, thank you. And listen, I come back to that all the time as a college fan, whether it's because of what I do for a living or where I grew up or anything else. Yeah, that is the number one thing in college sports, absolutely, because of the way you can procure said talent. You don't have a draft. You don't have free agency. You know, you don't. I mean, you got a limit of people you can get on your team.
You choose your roster. Yeah.
Who do you go get? And you're right. And I, to your point, I guess to make everybody happy with what he said, the statistics would show you
that you can't do all those things.
Yeah, and in a glaring way this season, that you don't have the horses to run this race. You know, that's what's hard. It's like, what happened there?
And then pair that with what the SEC coaches thought of your roster at the beginning of the year when they voted you 15th in the preseason poll.
Yeah.
So it's really both. If we want to use that as some type of benchmark, then the two things Jerry brought up, you don't have the talent, you're not developing them. The stats that we've mentioned, along with that preseason poll, would tell you that both are correct.
We got more baseball in about an hour. Monty Lee will join us in place of Coach Maneri today. I'll come back on the other side. Could the college football playoff be going to 16 schools? Momentum is building. We'll explain further when the postgame show returns. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union, ready to help you and your family with any and all of your banking needs in uncertain rate environments and financial times. It's nice to know that you can keep more of your money in your accounts, in your pocket, in your wallet, and Palmetto Citizens wants to help you do that with the lower rates and fewer fees that they offer their members. Plus, Palmetto Citizens these days also has a couple of different programs you can learn about that will actually reward you for saving more money. Now, that's cool. I mean, basically, it's like bonus money. Go to palmettocitizens.org and check out savings and see some of the things they do for you. But terrific rates when it comes to all of your banking needs. Again, credit cards, car loans, student loans, home equity lines of credit. They can get it all done for you. And they've been doing business in the Midlands since the 1930s. Nearly 100 years. They're getting there. That means they know you and your neighborhood. Check them out. Join my wife and me as members. We love them. palmettocitizens.org. All right, welcome back in. Postgame Show rolling on here on a Monday. As I mentioned, Monty Lee will join us coming up in about an hour's time. Got a note yesterday that Coach Maneri would be traveling today, would not be available for his 5:15 segment, but Monty was ready to hop in. So we'll talk to Coach Lee coming up here in about 1 hour's time for our regular Monday Gamecock baseball visit. In the meantime, reporting from the great Ross Dellinger, would have us believe that we are getting closer to the long-term format of the college football playoff. Now, let me say again, this would not be for the coming 2025 event.
Stuck with 12.
Stuck with 12. I do think that by I think before we hit our media days, our talking season, as Steve Spurrier would say, in July, I do think we'll have some clarity on how they reseed this coming season. I don't think it'll be the top 4 conference champs getting the top 4 spots. I think it'll just be the top 4 in the rankings getting the top 4 spots.
Well, maybe one of these meetings in fancy resorts with fancy lunches will produce something of note.
Maybe.
But why?
Yeah, why
work?
now?
Why work when you can just have fun?
I mean,
chill out, relax.
Get like a Wagyu ribeye, thin slice steak sandwich with.
Yeah, when I'm eating that, I don't want to make any decisions.
No,
absolutely not.
Those are good. By the way, speaking of Wagyu beef, did you see that they're having a champions dinner at the PGA this week up in Charlotte in honor?
Really?
Yeah. I was like, come on, don't.
Copycat league.
Yeah, you can't do that.
The PGA. It's copycat league. You know, people say it all the time.
Can't do that.
Copycat league.
But Xander has a decent menu, but I was like, no, you can't do that. You just.
I want to win a golf tournament just so I can host a champions dinner and make everybody eat like box mac and cheese.
Corn dogs.
Corn dogs, Jackie. Corn dogs for all these people.
Listen, I like corn dogs. I didn't go to the fair last year.
I hate corn dogs.
Oh, no.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
I'm a fan. I like the breakfast ones, too, with the sausage.
See, now those I never had a problem with growing up. But for some reason, I took a bite into corn dog as a young man for the first time and was so repulsed, I never touched another one after that. Never will. I've never had a hankering for a corn dog. And again, never will. I think that ship has.
Well, that's more for the rest of us. That's fine.
Far sailed.
I get you.
Yes, please.
I get you.
Please.
But Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports and Sports Illustrated is reporting that there is now a momentum, let's put it that way, between the Big Ten and Southeastern Conference for a 16-school bracket that would include 4 automatic slots for the Southeastern Conference, 4 automatic slots for the Big Ten Conference, 2 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12, 1 from the group of 6, because it's now the group of 6. So Pac-12, unfortunately, loses its status.
Sorry, fellas.
Yeah, RIP, real Pac-12. No need for you to have died either. And then 3 at large. Now, that's easy enough. But let me now throw in the curveball. Then we're going to talk about all of this. One of the things that the SEC and Big Ten, and to a lesser degree the Big 12 and the Atlantic Coast Conference love, is their football championship game. But I can assure you they really love it in Atlanta and Indianapolis because they sell it out and they sell it for a lot of money, and their TV partners have thrown in extra to make sure they can be the ones that have that exclusivity on Saturday afternoon in early December. That could go away in favor of, in the Big Ten and SEC, not 1, kids, but 2 play-in games. And here's what would happen. You'd have a conference champion based on the regular season. Congratulations, whatever you. That's letter. You're the champion. Congratulations, team number 2. You're not the champion, but you are safely in to the college football playoff. Team 3, you're going to play team 6. And team 4, you're going to play team 5. And those 2 winners, likely in on-campus venues, would then advance as automatic qualifiers from the Big Ten and the SEC. No word at this point on if the ACC and Big 12 would do the same thing. I suppose the ACC and Big 12 could say, hey, congratulations, champion, you're in, and then they could have 2 play 3? I don't know. Elijah Campbell, if what I just explained, which is at this point in time theoretical, would you, as a ardent college football fan, be in favor?
I would be physically ill if we did that.
Okay.
I think that is an incredibly stupid idea.
Do you want me to get you some Pepto now, or just a dose of mental Pepto at this point is all you need?
Just watering down the product. So just give me more water, actually. If we want to water down our product to this point, yeah, let's just find the biggest container of water you can, Jay Phillips, and all the flavoring that I had in my glass, you can just completely wash out. Okay. Completely wash it out. Like championship weekends for conference championship games. And I know we've already diluted that to where it is almost rendered completely meaningless. But we don't have to do that because of the stupid auto bid thing. Like, look, SEC and Big Ten can get 4 teams in every year anyway. Why do you have to do something so antithetical to like the entire like spirit of sport by just predetermining by the beginning of the season? And then you're giving teams that have a chance to get in. Like, let's look at 2023, for instance, right? Like, that LSU team, yes, Jaden Daniels is a lot of fun. They're giving up 28 points a game. Do we think that team should have a shot to be playing in the college football playoff?
I don't know. Where did they finish in the SEC?
They would have finished, so Georgia first, then Alabama second, Missouri third, Ole Miss 4, LSU 5. Tennessee at 8-4 would be 6. You really want to give that Tennessee team that was not very good, they were 8-4, they were not a very good 8-4, a chance to play their way into the college football playoff? That's a participation trophy for them to get an extra game to get into the playoff at 8-4. Absurd. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Because they would not be one of the 16 best teams.
No, probably not.
At this point, like, what are we doing? What are we playing a regular season for at this point?
So I don't.
Greg Sankey pick 4 teams.
Yeah,
but go in every year.
I would be. Again, I don't see it quite the way you do. I wouldn't want to lose the SEC championship game.
And that's what we would be doing.
But I understand if we went to this, that might be a casualty. I think it's kind of an off the wall, not solution, but I have, what's the word I'm looking for here? I have a proposal that would not be counter to 4 automatics, but that might have some criteria to be met. So we'll hit a break, and then I'm going to throw something at you and to you guys in the audience, and see if you think. I don't know that they would ever like. They'd be like, "Come on, no, we're not going to do that." But see what y'all think. All right, and we'll do that when the postgame show returns.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with many accidents to get to. They're causing some issues on the roadways. We'll try to get to all of them here, starting with one on Cannon Trail Road at Platte Springs Road, I-26 eastbound before Columbia Avenue near exit 91, 2 on 77 northbound, 1 at Two Notch Road near exit 17, the other after Farrow Road, exit 19. We also have one on 77 southbound at I-26 near exit 1, an accident on Nazareth Road near South Carolina 204 and Longs Pond Road, one on North Springs Road at Risden Way, Old Tama Road near Coon Road, Parkland Road near Highway 277, and lastly, one on US 176 at Broad River Road near Piney Grove Road.
Talking the future of the college football playoff, the big-time, leaders met for a little bit last week in New York. More meetings scheduled soon. Of course, conference end-of-year meetings will be happening in the next couple of weeks. ACC has theirs down at Amelia Island. The SEC, of course, has theirs every year in Destin along the Gulf. So those are coming in the next few weeks, and maybe by then those conferences have told us more of what they want to do. We shall see. Welcome back in, though. Jay and Elijah with you. By the way, Trey just hit us on Twitter. Elijah responded to him. But Trey said, I'm all for playing games. Also, Elijah must have never had a corn dog 7 at his mall. I don't remember one of those here. We had, I want to say at Columbia Mall. Y'all help me if I'm wrong here. Didn't we have corn dog on a stick at the mall?
Isn't that what a corn dog is?
Yeah, no, that's what I always thought, too. But I'm pretty sure the place was called Corn Dog on a Stick. Now, listen, I like a corn dog just fine. I will not. I don't go out of my way to get corn dogs, but I will tell you that the Bailey's Pronto Pup, the footlong at the fair, has always been like the king of my fair food experiences. There's a lot of good food at the fair, and one day I'm going to go to the Texas State Fair just because I'm almost jealous of some of the things that you can apparently. The thing is, you'd have to go every day
to be able to get a large enough sample size.
Yeah, and maybe even for a few years. I just need.
Well, you can't eat a lot of that in one day too because your cholesterol's a thing.
Oh my God! Yeah, no,
you might die trying to try everything.
We'll be in the hospital. Yeah. I don't need that. But I figure we just go stay with Langston and just go to the Texas State Fair for a few days.
Would love that.
I'm not going to ask him first. We'll just show up after our first day. We'll be like, "What's up?"
This is one of those things we're not going to ask for forgiveness. Yeah. We're really not even going to ask.
We're not going to ask
for permission. We'll insinuate that it was given beforehand.
Just hope that Mrs. Moore be like, "The heck you are."
We got to work on our gaslighting skills, brother.
But Langston said we could. But I think we had corn dog on a stick at Columbia Mall. But I didn't go there maybe a couple times. Again, corn dog. If you get a corn dog you can get a decent corn dog at the store and just put it in the oven. Don't microwave them though. Well, you don't care.
I'm not going to microwave them.
A microwaved frozen corn dog is terrible. I do have a workaround. You 30 seconds in the microwave and then 5 minutes in the oven, and then you're gold. That expedites the process.
See, I just don't have to.
I learned that as a younger parent back in the day. Anyway, and I'm all for play-in games, too. I don't mind them. Okay, so, again, Elijah and I don't see eye to eye on this. I'm not like, yes, do this. Again, I would miss the title games. I think they've become to me, they mean so much now. They've become a big part of life. And I do remember, look, the Gamecocks have only been once. And unfortunately...
You had to play Cam Newton.
For the second time that season, I might add.
You had to play that guy. Yeah.
Oh, God. He was good. He was
really good.
Yeah, he was good. But let me throw it out like this. Let's say, Elijah Campbell, that there was a rule written into this new proposal, if this were to become a thing, like if you're, because you mentioned Elijah was going back and doing a little digging, and this kind of backs up where I'm going. If you're not ranked in the final, in the committee's final top 25, you're not eligible for participation, even if you're one of the two conferences. So in other words, if like Team 4 from the Big Ten and or SEC was ranked outside the top 25, then they can't go. Would that, I don't know that would be something people would accept, people being the leaders of the Southeastern Conference and Big Ten Conference.
When you set the standard at the beginning of the year, if you are in the 6th place team, then you expect to have a chance to play for it, whether or not the people voting for the poll every week.
I'm just trying to find a way to ensure, to your point, that you get, at bare minimum, a ranked team. But you raised an interesting point about the Gamecocks of 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, in 2022, fun season. You ended the year on an awesome note. But that South Carolina team was 8-4 in the regular season. They were 4-4 in league play. They would have been in one of those games. That South Carolina team would have been
in a
games.
conference play-in game. Yes,
because Georgia would have been the number 1.
Yep.
And then let's just see. You would have had a 3-way tie for second between Tennessee, Alabama, LSU. So there's 14.
Tennessee beat Alabama that year, right?
Tennessee beat Alabama that year.
Okay, so there's a head-to-head.
So there, yeah. So let's say Tennessee's 2, Alabama is, and LSU beat Alabama. So LSU 3, Alabama 4. You would be looking at a 3-way tie for 2 spots between Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. All 3 of those teams were 4-4 because there were only 4 teams in the league that had a winning record in conference play. So then you would have 2 teams who were 500 in their league play 1 game for a chance to get into the college football playoff. And I'm sorry, even if it impacts South Carolina, if you are 500 in your league, I don't think you should be having a crack at playing in the college football playoff. I just don't.
I get your point, and I
getting
imagine
rewarded for being 500
for being
in your conference. That's
good,
a participation trophy.
Yeah,
if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, for being pretty good. I don't disagree. I think what this is going to do, though, and don't forget now we've expanded both conferences since that season. I know that was just one example you were using.
The year before that, we also had the same thing. Only 4 teams in the SEC were above 500. You would have had 2 teams with a shot to get into the college football playoff with 4-4 records in their league.
I think this is going to the automatics, and this is why I like them maybe even more than you do. And I know we've touched on this in the past. This is more than likely going to be the final bit of information, in other words, automatic qualification spots that the leaders of the SEC need to okay 9 conference games. And I want 9 conference games. I also want even harder non-conference schedules than we already have. And I know some people don't want that. Some fans around here don't want it. We certainly know that the University of Kentucky doesn't want it. I don't think the University of Missouri wants it. They like playing. Kentucky has basically been vocal about it. I mean, Kentucky even said, hey, if we go to 9 conference games, we might not be able to play Louisville, which I just thought was such a loser mentality.
That is a loser mentality.
Meanwhile, South Carolina has, again, this season wouldn't matter, but starting in 26, in order, I believe you have home and homes scheduled with Miami, North Carolina State. Love it.
That should be.
And you have a hard game at the end of the year that will never go away. I'm here for that. I'm totally here for that. And a 9th conference game? Sure. And you know what? Soon enough here, there's games scheduled with like App State and ECU. You want to put those in there? Fine. And make that your group of 6 game? I'm here for it. Now, again, some of you are going, shut up.
That's the thing. Making the college football playoffs supposed to be hard.
Yeah. So I'm here for that. But if the trade-off is play-in games and 4 automatic qualification spots giving me a ninth conference game and the ability to feel better about scheduling even more difficult non-con games. Or, again, maybe having that Big Ten SEC thing every year, which I think would be dynamite. Or if you wanted to do it with the Big 12, I don't care. I don't care. I would just say don't do it with the ACC, if only because I don't know how you work that with the Clemson thing.
Would be difficult.
Or, again, if you're playing Miami and North Carolina State. Like, South Carolina's already got an annual.
Two ACC games for the next couple of years.
Yeah, including this year.
Yes.
I mean, you got 7 consecutive years scheduled. And I haven't even looked past the NC State. I don't know what else they got past then. Maybe nothing right now. But you got 7 consecutive years coming up of 2 ACC games on your schedule. I'm here for that. Good.
Well, see, here's the difference between the 9-game schedule and the auto bids for the playoff. One is predetermined, and one is not. You can still schedule very, very, very well. Have a tough league slate, play 9 games, and still be one of the best teams, 16 teams in college football, right? I mean, and really what this would do would be de-incentivizing other schools in different conferences from 2-bid leagues to play you. Because why would they want to beat themselves up, right? Because they know they're only playing for 2 spots. Like, here's the thing. How many teams in the top 10 every year, in the preseason top 10, end in the preseason top 10?
Yeah, usually
not a ton.
Maybe like half, probably.
Like half. And there's always one team in there that finishes the year unranked.
Uh-huh.
It would be silly to auto bid spots for leagues because of the assumption of how good they're going to be year in, year out, when those leagues aren't as good as we say they are or aren't as bad as we say they are year in, year out.
And on that point, I don't disagree with you. That's why I say we don't come at this as just like diametrically opposed to one another. But that last point you made,
that's why I think this is a terrible idea.
I think that's very valid. Yeah. It's an assumption that with the number of schools you have, that you'll be there regardless.
Yes.
And that's why I say maybe one year you're not, and then, well, guess what? You missed out on your spot.
Yeah, for 1 year.
Yeah.
The SEC and Big Ten can both get 4 in on a normal basis.
All right, we got a J or nay on the other side?
We absolutely do.
All right. I don't know what it's going to be, but it should be fun. Be right back. 11 minutes in front of 5 o'clock here on a Monday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Coming up top of the hour, headlines of the day. We got a lot to get to, including the matchups for Gamecocks softball. Monty Lee will join us in place of Coach Paul Maneri coming up around 5:15. Coach Maneri traveling today. Monty will be stepping in and drive around the SEC after that. But now, again, any excuse to play game show music is a good excuse to play game show music. And that's what we're doing for Jay or Nay.
We take it and we run with it. So we haven't got to do a Jay or Nay in a while, so it feels good to be able to
it's good.
break this music
I'm
back
ready.
out.
Do we need to explain what this is just for folks who maybe have never heard Jay or Nay?
At this point, I think they'll figure it out.
Okay.
Context clues. It's
Yeah.
important. You learned them in school. Let's apply them now.
All right, let's see what happens.
All right, Jay or Nay. The Cavs being down 80-39 at half in a playoff game is more insulting to the game of basketball than the Nuggets and Thunder combining to shoot 1 for 25 from 3 in the first quarter of Game 4.
Jay, sometimes you have bad shooting days.
That was a bad shooting quarter. I think the average is ultimately kind of leveled out a little bit, not by much.
Yeah, well,
but
sometimes you're just off. But no, when you're down more than 40 in a playoff game and you're the 1 seed in your conference, no, that's not good.
that's a sin.
It's not good.
That is atrocious. Yeah.
So Cleveland has.
I tuned in right before the game went to half. So I was like, let me check in on this game. Oh my God, just kidding.
I told you, I did not like Cleveland getting out of this round, regardless of who they played. This is before we even knew who was going to play whom.
Yeah.
I was just like, that feels like a regular season team. Now, I didn't expect that the Knicks were going to have a lead on the Celtics.
Oh, the Celtics will win tonight.
But the Celtics. If the Celtics win tonight, then they're fine.
Yeah.
Then it'll be 2-2, and then they have 2 games out.
And for anybody wanting to make the comparison to the 2015 Hawks with this Cavs team, get out of here. Insulting.
Right.
Disrespectful. That team went to the conference finals and lost to LeBron James like every team in the Eastern Conference did for like 10 straight years.
Yeah.
These two teams are not the same.
Right.
Not even the same ballpark. Right now, they're barely playing the same sport. That Atlanta Hawks team, thing of beauty.
Yeah.
They were
Plus,
awesome.
Joker looks tired, so I hope he just took a really long 2-day nap. For their next game.
Big old Serbian polar bear probably need to hibernate a little bit. Maybe a little more than a nap.
A little bit.
Jay or Nay? Aaron Judge hitting .409 with an OPS of 1,274 with 14 homers and 39 RBI here at May 12th has already locked him up the MVP.
Nay, if only because it's May. Now we're gonna rhyme a lot here, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, if he's got numbers that are comparable and it's mid-August, sure.
Okay.
And those numbers he won't have those come August, I don't think.
But
And
those are
again,
astounding.
if he does, more power to you. And he is seemingly hitting another level. But no, in May, nay. I'm not ready for that yet.
And there is some precedent for somebody finishing the year hitting 400, not winning the MVP. And that was when DiMaggio won over Ted Williams.
Yeah.
And
41?
yeah, it might have been 41, which still maybe one of the most disrespectful
I was just a
MVP
kid then, so I
snubs
can't remember for sure.
of all time. All right, Jay or Nay?
Yeah.
The Charlotte Hornets will finally receive a gift from the basketball gods tonight in the NBA draft lottery. Finally, they have lived through Anthony Davis being stripped from their hands and replaced with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. That's probably the worst one of all time, one of the worst ones. But in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, which happens right after we go off the air, will fans of that NBA team, 90 minutes or so up north, they finally going to get what they've been praying for all season.
Okay. I'm going to say nay because they have a 14% chance of winning the NBA draft lottery tonight. By the way, is it at halftime of the Knicks game? Or is it before the game? When is it? When is the lottery?
It should be before the game.
Is it before the game? I may actually watch that. 14% chance, which is the same number that Utah and Washington have. So they have basically not quite half the opportunity, those three.
Yes.
And then everybody else has, I don't have the whole list in front of me. I just know those three.
Yes.
But even if they did win tonight, Elijah Campbell, I know this isn't one of your questions. Cooper Flag isn't going to change the fortunes of that franchise. They need
Poor Bugs.
They need a lot.
Yeah, so 14% chance for the Jazz, Wizards, and Hornets. 12.5% chance for him to go to a different type of basketball hell. That is the city of New Orleans. Great town, cursed basketball city. And then 10.5% chance he gets to play in Philly.
You know where I think if he went there, they'd fix it is Utah. Because Utah has
They're
pretty
a good organization.
Yeah, it's a good organization.
They have a really good young head coach. They have some pieces in place.
Yeah.
They already have some good players.
Yeah, I think Utah, if they win this lottery, I think he should be okay.
He should hope that Utah wins the lottery.
Of the three, at least, that have the best opportunity. And bless your heart, son, if it ends up being the Washington Wizards. That's all I can say about that. Hour 3 coming up. You know, the men's clinic for years has been helping guys that are just feeling off in a lot of different ways, physically, emotionally, and maybe those things kind of coming together, things that just aren't happening for you, have you weighed down. Well, it's time to get to the root of it and to stop telling yourself it'll fix itself, because that's just not the way it works. Instead, go see Dan Balknight and his team at the men's clinic. Dr. Balknight has been doing this, as I said, for a long time. He'll sit down with you and get to know you. All right. And Dan's a great guy. I mean, he will really, he'll talk with you about what's up and then figure out what you can do next to get you back to feeling the way you want to and the way you need to. There's no magic pills. There's no one-size-fits-all treatment. Instead, these are experts in healthcare for men dedicated to making you feel like yourself again. 803-875-MENS is the number. Set up a free consultation. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family. See Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Decker Boulevard at Two Notch Road, I-26 eastbound before Columbia Avenue near exit 91, a pair of them on I-77 northbound at Two Notch Road at exit 17, and after the Faro Road exit 19. Also have one on 77 southbound at I-26 near exit 1, Nazareth Road near South Carolina 204 and Longs Pond Road, Old Tama Road near Coon Road, and then two on US 176 at Broad River, one near Piney Grove Road, the other near Woodrow Street.
It is 5 o'clock news time. Welcome back in. Also, the final hour of the postgame show here on a Monday alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We start with Gamecocks softball. Ashley Chastain's team finishing last week at the SEC tournament with a loss to Texas A&M, but that does not stop the season in any way, shape, or form. In fact, yesterday, South Carolina found out that not only are they hosting a regional over at Beckham Field this weekend, but they are a top 8 national seed. So if they advance, they'll be home again next week. North Florida, Virginia, and Elon will be coming to Columbia on Friday. It's North Florida versus UVA. That'll be game 1. And then Carolina and Elon will play game 2. Those games are at 3 o'clock and 5:30. Ticket information is available for you right now at GamecocksOnline.com. But congratulations. First time they're hosting in nearly 10 years. And they have not been to the Women's College World Series in nearly 30 years, 28 years.
They got a good chance whenever you get a top 8 seed.
A lot of, when you're the number 8 national seed, 7, 8, 9, 10, just like in baseball, a lot of competition for that. So I think there was a lot of folks that were a little nervous, but Gamecocks pulled it off. I think Ashley was right. They had the conference schedule speaks for itself, but they had a tremendous non-conference schedule, and they won a lot of those games.
Yes, that helps.
So
benefit of scheduling.
I think that was the real difference, in my opinion, because the SEC is loaded. One thing I didn't like, and I'll just say this real quick, not about the Gamecocks. There was obviously a lot of rain all across the Deep South this week, including here in South Carolina. Felt like it's been raining for 3 straight days, and maybe because it has.
It has, yes.
But
confirmed.
The SEC softball tournament took place in Athens, and it was supposed to be Oklahoma versus Texas A&M for the championship, and it just kept raining, and they couldn't find a window to play the game. So typically, you're like, all right, well, we'll figure it out somehow. They just didn't. So now instead of like regular season co-champs, even though the SEC doesn't like that term, co-champion, they just said y'all are both tournament champions, which I was like,
anticlimactic.
Yeah, just play today.
I'd rather you flip a coin at this point. And we've proven we could do it.
Sure.
We've proven we're fine with that.
Sure. I mean, why don't take them into Stegman and just play indoors or something? I don't know. Have some kind of competition. I don't know. Something. Right? No.
Anything. I'm with you. I hate.
I don't like that
playing it.
I don't like that
thing.
But whatever, it's fine. But congratulations to Ashley and her team, not only hosting this weekend, as I said, but a top 8 national seed. So a home cooking path towards Oklahoma City.
I talked about during basketball season what your seed expectation is.
Yep.
The South Carolina softball team, the seed expectation is to get to Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Good call. Not such a great call for South Carolina baseball. Another sweep this weekend. That's 5 in conference play, 6 overall in the 2025 campaign, this time at the hands of the Auburn Tigers, including one of the more humbling losses that you've ever seen, although it came on the heels of a rather humbling loss to Florida just a few days before. South Carolina losing on Thursday, of course, 24-2 in a baseball game. 11-10 in game 1 of Friday's doubleheader. Carolina actually went down 5. Scored 6 to take a lead. Then it went back and forth a little bit before Auburn won in the bottom of the 9th. And then the Gamecocks actually started the game with 3 runs early against the Tigers. And then Auburn scored 11 unanswered to take the finale. So 46 runs allowed by the Gamecocks this weekend. Again, if you're just tuning in, Coach Paul Maneri typically joins us on Mondays at 5:15. Coach is traveling today. And Monty Lee will be in his stead coming up here in about 10 or 12 minutes. So make sure you keep it right here on the game to hear what Coach Lee has to say about this weekend and just, trying to right the ship for, one more day at least, if you will. Winthrop tomorrow and then LSU, the new number 1 team in the country, coming to town this weekend.
Pretty strong consensus for number 1 team, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of polls out there.
Yeah, our friend Mitch at The Athletic has them at number 1 in their poll, D1, Baseball America. I'd say that's a good consensus number 1 team right there.
Winthrop tomorrow night, and again, Thursday through Saturday. The Winthrop game tomorrow is at 6:30. 7 o'clock Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the home finale at 3 p.m. against the LSU Tigers. Speaking of baseball, as we continue our integrated media headlines of the day, the Atlanta Braves lose the series in Pittsburgh. Pirates are not good, had lost 7 straight, fired their manager. New manager bump worked Friday night. They edged the Braves, I think, 3-2. Then the Braves won in extra innings on Saturday. And yesterday, the Braves fell once again to the Pirates. Now the Braves home against the Washington Nationals. Tonight, it's Grant Holmes and his hair and mustache. 2 and 3.
Part of the team.
That's right. 2 and 3, with a 4.58 against Jake Irvin of the Nats, who is 2-1 with a 3.94. First pitch in Atlanta, or technically Cobb County, is at 7:15. Some interesting basketball news. I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know how you feel. I think this means get me out. Giannis Antetokounmpo has today, according to Shams Charania of ESPN, and if Shams says it, it's true because there's no more Woj bombs.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Woj bombs.
Yes.
Not Woj.
Yes. Woj is with us.
Woj
the
is
bombs
doing
are
fine.
not.
Yeah. Woj
he
is
is
fine.
disarmed.
That's right.
Yeah.
But Shams says that Giannis is now open-minded about potentially moving on from the only NBA team he's ever known. And I had to be reminded when I read this. I knew he'd been there a while, Elijah Campbell. 12 seasons. He was 18 when he started playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. He's been the league MVP. He's won a championship. In 9 of those 12 seasons, he's been an NBA All-Star. He has become one of the premier players in the game. He is also the only player in the history of the sport to have here, I'll read it verbatim. It's his second season averaging, second consecutive season, averaging 30 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 60% shooting from the floor. No other player in NBA history has done it even once. And Giannis has done it 2 years in a row. Open-minded about leaving means what?
That means he's not happy with the state of the franchise. I think he really wants to stay, but they've also at the same time put their own foot in their mouth by trading one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA for an aging superstar who does not play any defense and hasn't been the caliber of player that he was known to be in Damian Lillard. That set them back a lot. They're in salary cap hell. They haven't drafted very well. Don't really know exactly what the direction of this franchise is because the outlook isn't very good right now. They're in a really tough spot. I think it's one of those things like, hey, if you wanted to trade me, because you can get a lot for him right now, there can be a suitor. I don't know.
What are you trading? Are you, because draft picks, unless you're like if some team that wins the lottery tonight decides to do it, maybe, right? Or, but draft picks aren't like they are in the NFL. They can be good, but if you're a good team trading a draft pick to a bad team, so it's going to be talent, right? I mean, what are we looking at here?
First rounders can get you starters if you draft well. That's the thing. A lot of teams in the NBA might be the worst drafting league in America. Like there's nobody that wastes draft picks in capital on guys that aren't good right now, but you think you can magically turn into being really good than the NBA. Right? Like the Golden State Warriors looked at James Wiseman and said, you can jump really high. You have really long arms, but you're not very good at basketball. We're going to take you number 2. Right. Like that happens in the NBA frequently, right? Like the Raptors famously drafted a guy within the lottery who was described as by a scout being a year away from being a year away. He could not play basketball, but he was tall, he was fast, he jumped high, looked like he never shot a basketball, and the Raptors said, you know what, we can draft him, we can use a first-round pick to turn him into a basketball player. No, you can't. And they'll often punish guys for being old. We saw Dalton Knecht fall out of the lottery because he's in his mid-20s, even though he can help somebody right now. The NBA is not very wise. If you do it correctly, yes, you can use draft capital to your advantage. But the Bucks also drafted a guy with a second-round grade this past year, but he's like 17 years old. And they're like, we can turn him into a good basketball player. You know who didn't play hardly at all for them this year? That guy.
That guy, yeah.
Like, you have to be a smart basketball team to be able to use that capital. You can trade with a team like Oklahoma City, who might be interested in getting a player like Giannis and giving up all the draft capital they have. Reminder, the Thunder have more draft picks in the next 10 years than there are years in that stretch, right? Like, they have stockpiled draft picks and assets.
I said to you, and I don't mean this, so don't, if you're from Oklahoma City, I'm not really slamming you here. I'm more tongue in cheek. But if I'm Giannis and I've got the money that he had, by the way, next year he'll make roughly $63 million.
That's a lot of money.
That's not his career earnings, kids. That's what he's going to make next season. Do I want to spend my 30s and my time in America after being in Milwaukee, which is a fine town, then going to Oklahoma City, which is a fine town? Or would I rather maybe be traded to, say, Miami or New York or Los Angeles or even San Francisco?
Depends on what you value in life.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If he values winning, I would be praying that they trade for all bajillion of Oklahoma City's draft picks to send me to Oklahoma City. That's what my hope would be. I would take a 7-8 point per game
Would
decrease.
Milwaukee want to at least trade him to the Western Conference?
I think they'd like to get him out of the Eastern Conference. Yeah, I don't think you want to trade him to somebody you're going to see with.
So Miami and New York could be out.
Yeah, that's if I'm Milwaukee. If I'm Milwaukee, I'm on the phone with Sam Presti. I am calling him enough to the point where it makes his wife uncomfortable when I'm calling him at 3 a.m. Right? Why are the Milwaukee Bucks calling you at 3 a.m.? They keep trying to make a deal, honey. I'm sorry, but that's how pushy I would be if I'm Milwaukee with Oklahoma City specifically because of the stockpile and draft picks they have.
Well, we'll see. Again, he's open. Is Giannis open to having the team explore trade options for him? Tonight in the association, Celtics-Knicks game 4. New York leads 2-1. This one's at the Garden. The Celtics won comfortably the other day. Warriors hosting the T-Wolves. It's Minnesota up 2-1 in that one. Still no Steph. And again, tonight before that Celtics-Knicks game, Elijah was right. I thought it was at halftime, but did they used to do it at halftime of some of these games? Maybe
they might have in some years.
Anyway, this year the draft lottery is at 7. Charlotte,
6.
Utah.
7.
Yeah, this here says 7 Eastern. Charlotte, Utah, Washington, each with a 14% chance to get the number 1 pick in the draft, which will be Duke's Cooper Flag.
Yeah, the draft is the Cooper Flag sweepstakes.
Yep.
Some nice prizes in picks 2 through 7.
Yeah.
But Cooper Flag's the
rice-a-roni in there and some turtle wax.
Yeah.
Sure.
Stuff that gets the job done. But if you're one of the teams that was as bad as Washington, Utah, and Charlotte have been this year, you really want that number 1 pick.
Dude, Washington's been bad since they won the title in like 1978.
Yeah, Wes Unseld ain't walking through that door.
He ain't. Neither are those sick uniforms.
No. Or the nickname Bullets.
Yeah.
Ever since they became the Wizards, they've been really bad, quite frankly.
Yeah, Manute Bol had like 1 good year in Washington, I think.
He was fun.
Yeah.
Very tall.
Very tall. Very tall. That's our integrated media headlines of the day. Coming up on the other side of the break, Monty Lee will join us again in place of Coach Maneri today. Rough weekend for the Gamecocks, and now number 1 comes to town before Winthrop is before that, though, Winthrop. We'll talk to Monty about what's going on when the postgame show returns. Welcome back in. 19 minutes after 5 o'clock here on a Monday afternoon. Jay Phillips and Elijah Campbell with you. Monty Lee set to join us here in just a second. Do want to remind you the Grand Slam giveaway is still going on from Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. Log on to 1075thegame.com and register. The pot currently at $525. And if a Gamecock hits a Grand Slam this weekend, you could win that cash. Again, register at 1075thegame.com. Again, Coach Maneri traveling today in the place of his regular visit. We have Monty Lee back on the program. First time this season. Been a while, Coach. Good to have you. Let's start you. Look, 24-2 the other night, and you've been around baseball a bunch. I know that's hard, but then you come right back and you lose by 1. So I want you to take us through what it's been like for you guys to try and do your best as coaches and the grown-ups in the room to keep these young men engaged.
Yeah. Well, look, I can speak for, the coaching staff and certainly can speak for myself. I'd show up here every single day and do everything that I can to prepare our position player group. That's my group. Try to prepare these guys to the best of my ability through scouting reports, through pregame preparation, along with the other coaches. And I try to motivate them every single day and do everything in our power to get them ready to play. And, look, this season has been an incredibly tough one, but I think you can see that, when we've had instances where we've had some really, really tough losses, our guys, will find a way to play solid baseball at times and find a way to score runs and give us a chance to win a ball game. But we've come up short even in those games, and it's been really, really tough. I know I was proud of our efforts in that 11-10 loss. That was a tough one. We tied the ball game there in the 9th inning and gave ourselves a chance to stay in the game, and then obviously lost it in the bottom of the 9th after a super tough loss. And we've had that happen a few times, but ultimately my job is to prepare our guys, and the coaches' jobs are to prepare the players to play their best baseball. And we competed as hard as we could and gave ourselves a chance in the one game, and then and came up short and then obviously lost game 3. But we just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep working as hard as we can and try to stay as positive as we can with our players and prepare them. And, that's the obligation that we have as coaches, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
And Monty, I know we've talked with Paul all season long. You talked about a lot of the challenges of this season, and obviously when the results are what they are, it can be really challenging. But for this year specifically, has there been maybe a challenge thrown in there that maybe you didn't anticipate at the beginning of the season, or something that maybe gave you some trouble that may have been hard to see coming?
Listen, I think when you look at a season like this, it's really, really difficult to put your finger on this one thing that happened during the season that led to what has happened. It's really, really hard to do that. I think that I think one of the things that has happened this year, I know that was incredibly tough for me personally, and for the coaches and for the players, is you go back to game 3 against Oklahoma, where we had a lead to win the series with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and they tie the ball game, and then we lose that game. And that was a pretty crushing defeat. When you feel like as a team, you had the series in hand, if things, didn't go the way that they went, again, we were down to, our last out with a lead, and they wound up tying the ball game. And it was unfortunate. We wound up losing that series. And when you have those kind of losses, and we've had a few of those where we've been in a position to win, some games, and we were unable to do it. It can be those are the hardest losses for coaches and for players. There's no question about that. I don't necessarily know if there's one thing that I could put my finger on. It's been a little bit of a combination of a number of factors, but ultimately we are where we are, and we're going to keep showing up every day and working as hard as we can, and trying to to play our best baseball and prepare our guys to play the best baseball that they possibly can. And look, that comes from accountability from everybody. I mean, that comes from, the coaches. We're super accountable for what we're trying to get our guys to do. The players have to be accountable, and that's what we're doing here. We're doing everything we can to prepare our guys to the best of our ability for the next game on the schedule.
Monty Lee with us, Gamecock associate head baseball coach. Carolina has Winthrop tomorrow. LSU, the new #1 team in the country, coming to town to close out the regular season at Founders Park this weekend. You have recruited players to this school under 3 different head coaches, including where you're working now. And I'm curious, because you have such a connection to the school and it goes way back. What's your recruiting pitch like these days, in a general sense, Coach? Of course, maybe relative to earlier sales pitches to recruits in their.
That's a great question, and I'll try to give you some context. I think one of the things that, as far as immediately, I think that one of the biggest selling points is the opportunity to come in and compete right away in the SEC. I think that, when you look at, just kind of where we're at, we feel like, going into portal season, we've been recruiting junior college kids. We've got a good group of high school kids coming in. And then we get into portal season. It's really just, hey, you come to South Carolina right now, you're going to get an opportunity to step on the field and compete right away in the best conference in all of college baseball. You also get a chance to play in the state of South Carolina, where there are no pro sports. I mean, that's one of the unique things about the University of South Carolina is there's no pro sports in the state of South Carolina. We are the pro sports for the fan base in the state of South Carolina. So I think that from a personal brand standpoint, a player comes in, and if he's playing shortstop, or he's a weekend starter, or the starting catcher, or whatever the position is, if you're playing at the University of South Carolina, everybody in the state of South Carolina knows who you are, because everybody follows Gamecock baseball. It is a big deal, and there's tremendous tradition here and a lot of success in this program. I think that's one of the biggest selling points is being able to step in and compete immediately to get this program going on the right track again, but also you get a chance to play in a tremendous college baseball state like South Carolina in a program that has had a lot of success. And I did. I was blessed to be able to work for Coach Tanner for 6 years. I've worked for Mark Kingston, and now I've worked for Paul Maneri. I'll tell you guys, like, one of the things that we've got to, you say, like, what do we have to get back to? I think one of the things that has not been discussed or has not been talked about is there's been a tremendous amount of turnover here, and we need stability in this program. I mean, I look at our players, and some of the guys just on our pitching staff alone, that were recruited by Skylar Meade, and then Justin Parker coached them, and then Matt Williams coached them, and then Terry Rooney's coached them. I mean, you just think about, since 2021, there's been 4 pitching coaches in this program. When you look at, from a recruiting standpoint and a consistency standpoint, day in, day out messaging, year in, year out, there's been a lot of turnover and a lot of change. On the hitting end, there's players in this program that were recruited by Trip Couch and by Chad Kaye and by myself. There's been a lot of change in the assistant coaches positions, here at South Carolina in the last 5 years. I think when you look back to, when Coach Tanner was here, Coach Tanner had 2 pitching coaches his whole tenure, and, had 3, main recruiters. Had Jim Tolman for a long, long time. And, my prayers are with Jim Tolman. I think we're all aware of what Coach Tolman is going through right now. But Jim Tolman was his right-hand man, and a huge reason why this program was so successful during Coach Tanner's tenure. I took over for Jim when he left for Liberty for 1 year, and then I became a head coach, and then Chad Holbrook came in and took over for me. So when you look at, again, if you want sustainable success in a program, there needs to be some consistency and sustainability within the coaching staff. Now, whether that's, and that goes for whoever it is. Another thing that we've got to look at too, just in the short amount of time that I've been back here, you look at, the guys on the mound and the position players that have been successful in this program. Look, the portal is super, super important to us. We're going to have to go into the transfer portal and recruit at a very, very high level. But you look at the Will Sanders, you look at the Jack Mahoneys, the Cole Messinas, the Ethan Petries, the Braylon Wimmers, just in the last 3 years. Like, we've got to make sure that the high school players that we're bringing in, that we can get guys in here and develop them from within. That's going to be the bread and butter out of South Carolina. And the 2026 class that we have has 10 plus commitments, and it's a very talented class. We've got to get back to that. That's what Jim Tolman would do. It was high school kids, sprinkle in some JUCO kids, and now you've got guys like Justin Smoke and Landon Powell and, those types of players who can come in and be in the program for 3 years. The 2022 season was a tough one at South Carolina. They hit the portal incredibly hard, and it's been simply, we got to keep going into the portal. And again, you can get good in a hurry in the portal if you hit on the guys you sign in the portal, and we're going to have to continue to do that. But we also can't lose sight of the fact that there needs to be consistency and sustainability within the coaching staff, and there also needs to be high school kids coming in this program who can step in and compete right away so that you have a chance to really, really be good. You look at those championship teams at South Carolina, it was full of kids that came in as freshmen and made contributions and got better and better and better. That's where you're going to get your superstars. And, those are my thoughts in regards to, what the program needs, to moving forward. So I hope that helps.
No, it's a great answer. Yeah, no, that's good. And again, you've got a unique set of eyeballs on this program. Appreciate the time today. Best of luck to you guys this week in the final homestand. We'll talk to you down the road, Monty.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. That's Gamecock Associate Head Coach Monty Lee. Drive Around the SEC is next. Bothered lately or for a while, if you will, by back, neck, shoulder, or any kind of joint pain, get back in the game at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. You never have to worry about appointments either. You never have to worry about insurance. You can just show up, all right? And their pros can take care of you quickly, Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, Saturdays, 10 until 4, and the Joint is FSA and HSA approved. So here's the deal. You go to Harbison, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch, Sunset Boulevard. They're convenient, affordable. They'll help you maintain a healthy body, and you can prevent reoccurring issues. Maybe you've never been to a chiropractic center. For just $29, the Joint will set you up with a consultation, exam, and adjustment. You ask questions and find out if it's right for you. It's that simple. Plus, they got centers all over the country. So once you've seen them, they know what's up, how to take care of you, no matter what you're traveling for. Remember this, kids. You don't have to feel bad to feel better at the Joint.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents here to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon, causing some traffic backups, including one on Bluff Road, Highway 48 at Beltline Boulevard, one on Decker Boulevard at Two Notch Road, I-26 westbound at Sunset Boulevard near exit 110, I-77 northbound after the Faro Road exit 19, Santee Avenue near Hardin Street, Sumter Street at Gervais Street here downtown, and lastly, one on US 176 at Broad River Road near Woodrow Street.
It is Drive Around the SEC time here on a Monday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Thanks again to Monty Lee for joining us in place of Coach Maneri today. Coach traveling. Monty telling us what the recruiting pitch is more than anything else. Again, we didn't get into a whole lot of the small picture, if you will, other than trying to keep guys, heads up after a difficult loss the other night. And let's face it, I'm not here to say, hey, so they're fine. You played okay in the next game, and then in the third game you got beat by 8. It has been that kind of year. But we asked him if you missed it, what's the sales pitch? And Monty, at least from an individual standpoint, has recruited here a lot and over a long stretch of time. With a lot of absence in between, and even recruited against South Carolina, if you will, especially at Clemson. Maybe not quite as much at Charleston. Although that marginal kid, you probably say, hey, come here and play, or go there and
sit.
Hope to play.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, if you missed it, go to the YouTube page and see what you think of what Monty had to say. Gamecocks in Winthrop tomorrow night at 6:30. Number 1 LSU comes to town this weekend, and we'll have the final weekend pairings for you coming up, because there's a pretty good log jam in the middle of the Southeastern Conference. But first, results from over the weekend. Alabama technically swept Georgia. They took 2. They only got to play 2. The rain did not allow a game 3 to be played. Kentucky sweeps Oklahoma. LSU took 2 of 3 from Arkansas. Vandy 2 of 3 in Knoxville. And a little Vandy boys and Vols dust up. Just a little chatter, a little something.
Yeah, that's what Tennessee does.
You know that meme of the 2 dogs that are barking their heads off at one another,
yes.
And then the gate opens and they're like, "Hey, what's up?"
That's exactly what it was. That's all that was. They hate each other.
And then the gate closes back and they just start barking again.
That is the perfect encapsulation of what the Vanderbilt Tennessee baseball series was this weekend. They're not going to fight.
Florida took 2 of 3 at Texas. Y'all, the best team in America right now might be Florida.
They're playing the best, man. My goodness.
I don't mean number 1 in the country, because that's LSU, but Florida did crack the top 25. But in terms of who you don't want to play right now,
I don't want to have to face Liam Peterson on the hill right now.
I think Florida,
he has been lights out.
I think Florida's top of the list, man. I do. And State took 2 of 3 from Mississippi. But the biggest news of the weekend, not only did Missouri finally win a game, kids.
Who?
Missouri swept A&M in College Station, winning the finale 10-1.
Winless Missouri. Winless. Texas A&M.
Winless no longer.
Needed to sweep that series to feel good about their spot playing in the NCAA tournament. And they got beat 3 times to winless Missouri. Pulseless Missouri. A program that does not even care about winning baseball games right now, Missouri. And they went to Texas A&M's house and beat them 3 times.
That's right. Thank you, Nick.
Nick is every bit as tickled about that as I am. That is just objectively the funniest thing to happen in sports this weekend. That's hilarious.
So before I give you the weekend pairings, let me give you the conference standings at this point in time. Remember the J or nay from a couple of weeks ago when you asked me about Texas? I told you that wasn't going to happen.
That's right. And Missouri. You said Missouri was going to get them one.
I did.
They got them 3.
They did. That's right. There you go. But Texas still has a 2-game lead over Arkansas for the regular season championship. Texas at 20-7 to Arkansas's 18-9. These are conference records only. LSU 17-10. Vandy, Georgia, Auburn, all at 16-11. Tennessee, Alabama. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant, by the way, yeah, Georgia did take that third game. I had it written down wrong. I'm sorry. Georgia did. They finally did win that series. Alabama. Let's see. Tennessee, Alabama, 15-12. Ole Miss, 14-13. Kentucky, Oklahoma, Florida, 13-14. State is 12-15. A&M, 10-17. Gamecocks 5-22, and Missouri again now 3-24. The weekend matchups. Most everybody has a game tomorrow night too, but let's look at conference now. A&M will be at number 10 Georgia. Alabama number 18 goes to number 23 Florida. Number 1 LSU coming here. Mississippi State will be at Missouri. Oh my.
Trap games. Trap games? Did somebody say trap games?
Kentucky at number 9, Vandy. Number 3, Texas at Oklahoma. Number 6, Auburn at Mississippi. And a dandy here as number 17, Tennessee, will be at number 8, Arkansas, as those teams, even with Tennessee's national ranking, both of those teams still in position for national seeds. In fact, I would tell you right now, Texas, Arkansas, LSU, Vandy, Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, even Alabama, all have shots at a national seed. Now, they won't all get them, but they all have a shot depending on how things shake out this weekend and next week in Hoover.
Yeah, uphill climb for Tennessee just in terms of RPI and their quad one record compared to everybody else. They're maybe a little lower on the totem pole. Like Alabama's got 2 more quad 1 wins than they do. LSU 3 more than they do. Arkansas's got 3
Well, let's
more.
say, and I'm with you, but let's just say that a Tennessee or an Alabama or an Auburn were to win the SEC tournament. I think that'll vault you into
things.
national seed. Yeah,
that'd help.
But I'm with you. I think Texas is secure. I think Texas, Arkansas, and LSU are secure.
Yeah.
Georgia is pretty good with 1-2.
Being number 1 in RPI helps you out a lot too. Vanderbilt too, 3 in RPI. They have they're tied for the most quad 1 wins in college baseball.
I think the SEC of the 8, I feel like the SEC is going to get 5.
Yeah,
I do. But we'll see. That again, a lot to play for this weekend for a lot of these teams. And finally, in our drive around the SEC, it was made official that the University of Texas board has approved Sean Miller's men's basketball contract. So not that they were going to deny it or anything like that, but
boy, that would be a stunning turn of events.
But it took a little while. So way to go, Sean. He's fine now.
What did take so long?
I just maybe they didn't meet. I don't know.
They went to a popular steakhouse in town, talked some things through.
$32 million guaranteed contract, which is double what Rodney Terry was making.
A lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
I'd take that.
That's our drive around the SEC, brought to you by Herndon Chevy. Stop by the showroom, see why Herndon makes you smile. We don't have any more quizzes left, do we?
We don't, but I can quiz.
Well, no, that's okay. I don't mind if you do, but I have one story on the other side about what not to do
if you won the lottery. No, we already did that.
Well, yeah, sadly not this time. It's what not to do if you rob a place.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll do that on the other side. All right, welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show here on a Monday. Once again, thanks to Monty Lee for joining us in place of Coach Maneri today. Coach Maneri traveling, so Monty filling in.
Yeah, airplanes famous for not being able to make phone calls on them.
Yeah, unless you have that cool like air. They still have those on. They don't have a lot of those. Remember the Air phone and like I tried it once and I was like, yeah, it costs way too much money and I couldn't hear anything. I was like, well, there's $20 I won't get back.
Nope,
whatever it was.
Never getting that back.
Do we have the before I get to this story? Do we have the draft lottery odds for everybody, Elijah Campbell?
I do. I have them in front of me right now.
Hit me with that, will you?
Oh, yeah. So we have the 3 that have the highest odds. That's how the NBA does it. So the Jazz, Wizards, and Hornets all have a 14% chance of winning the lottery. The Pelicans at 12.5%, 76ers 10.5%, Nets 9%, Raptors 7.5%, Spurs flat 6%. Now you have the Rockets by way of trade from the Suns. I believe that was from the Kevin Durant trade. They were the 3rd team in that trade a while back. Stupid decision by the Suns. I'm telling you, NBA teams are dumb. 3.8% chance of winning. The Portland Trailblazers at 3.7%. Dallas Mavericks at 1.8%. Chicago Bulls 1.7%. The Atlanta Hawks by way of Sacramento Kings have a 0.8%.
Atlanta has an NBA team?
They do.
Huh.
Yeah. They are NBA play-in regulars. They're regular visitors to the play-in round. Maybe the greatest play-in team of all time, some are saying.
Huh.
And then the Spurs, also by way of Atlanta, 0.7% chance of winning the lottery.
God, wouldn't it be something if he went to the Spurs? So the Spurs have 2 picks in the lottery.
Correct.
And by the way, I know Atlanta has a team. I used to love me some Dominique Wilkins.
Dude, I loved the Highlight Factory teams with Josh Smith, Joe Johnson,
Yeah.
Al Horford.
Yeah.
God, those were fun teams. Jamal Crawford, Mike Bibby. I still have a Mike Bibby jersey. I just
Really?
have chilling in the house, yeah, from when I went to a game when I was like in the 8th grade.
Well, before we get out of here tonight, good luck to all who have some balls in the NBA draft lottery.
May one be a little more colder than the others.
Yeah, I don't know how that works anymore. Patrick,
Yeah, they don't pull it out anymore. Yeah, it's not what it used to be.
They should just have the lotto machine.
I think that's what they do.
They have a lot. I mean, I honest to God, I just we'll find out on ESPN who wins the lottery. So I don't know how they do it anymore. It's all rigged.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Who's gonna get?
What was the Spurs' chance when they got Wemby? They weren't like one of the top ones.
I think they were like 7.5 or 9. Like they were one of those.
Yeah.
Like they weren't the worst team in the NBA that year.
If Cooper Flag goes to the Spurs with Wemby, oh my God.
An investigation would need to be opened up.
That's what the NBA.
I mean,
where does the NBA want him to go?
The Spurs realistically have a 6.7% chance for combining their 2 picks together.
That's not bad. Finally, again, kids, I'm not condoning robbery of places. You shouldn't do that. All right? You shouldn't do that. But if you've already done it, don't do what this lady did. I take you to Gulfport, Mississippi, where 34-year-old Jesse Ezel had entered a Dollar General store armed. Didn't say, what kind of gun. Demanded some money. This was on Sunday night around 9:30 at a Dollar General in Gulfport.
Why are you going to hold up a Dollar General?
It said she got into a fight with an employee before leaving the store with what the police report says was an undisclosed amount of money. And you may say, okay, so armed robbery, got into a fight, took a little money, and then took off. Well, it doesn't end there, kids. You see, here's what happened. Miss Ezel clearly realized when she got home or to wherever she was going after this event and realized that she had dropped her cell phone in the store.
Unbelievable. So she realized, I need to go back and get that.
Yeah. So,
you don't.
Well, she did, Elijah Campbell. Guess what was happening while she went back into the store?
Oh, the police were there.
The police were there. Yes. Investigating the crime. Guess who else was there? the clerk, the store employee that she got in a fight with.
Okay, there's so many things wrong here. There's
So as you might imagine.
Yeah, officer, that's her right there.
Right there.
As luck would have it, how much you would bet some officer said, "Oh man, the security footage is really grainy. I don't know if we'll ever be able to identify this person." And as soon as they say that, walks in our suspect.
Again, my advice, kids: don't. That cell phone's gone.
Okay, yeah. Here's more advice to add to that. Okay, if you're gonna hold up a place with a weapon, don't bring your cell phone at all. They can track where you're at.
Yeah. Don't
so
do
you
that
automatically lose your alibi. So don't do that. And if you're going to hold up a store and fight the cashier, the Dollar General is very low on the list. It's probably the highest on the list of places whose employees can take you and beat the hell out of you. So this was doomed from the beginning.
Yeah. Cops are like, thanks. Appreciate you. We'll do it again tomorrow. See ya.